The catastrophic events of 2011, such as the earthquake and tsunami in Japan or the flooding in Thailand, really highlight the vulnerability of today's global supply chains. Within days of such events, plants were shutting down due to an unavailability of material, of components, and even of labour. Whilst these events have clear financial penalties, we also find that they have long-term negative effects. Some of our data has shown that the large events can actually last up to 5 years in duration. What can managers do about this? Well, our current studies have examined 3 main areas. Firstly, the control of the events. Secondly, the monitoring of the events. And lastly, how to respond better when the events occur. In terms of control, firms have at least 3 options. First of all, they could seek to avoid the disruption hitting their supply chain in the first place. For example, they could relocate manufacturing from one high-risk zone into a lower risk zone. We have mapped from 2000 to the present day around 2,700 macro disruptions. By analysing the disruptions and modelling their probability and impact, we can help firms understand where best to relocate their manufacturing. Secondly, firms can seek to reduce the impact of a disruption through adding extra capacity into the system by taking on alternative suppliers. They could also develop greater flexibility in their supply chains through interchangeability of products, of processes, or even of plants. In terms of monitoring, we've developed software that allows organisations to model their internal risks, but also to scrape data from the web, which allows them to track trends and therefore predict disruptions before they occur. Finally, in terms of responding to disruptions, some disruptions cannot be predicted, they can't be monitored for in advance. So what we're trying to do is understand what factors drive a more efficient and effective response, all the way from detailed level contractual terms up to the design of the supply chain in the first place. Moving forward, we at the University of Bath are trying to push the research in 2 main directions. First of all, to create a better network understanding of risk and disruption, how disruptions ripple across these global supply chains from China all the way through to the UK, for example. Once we have an understanding of these rippling effects, we can then seek to try and manage and control those better. Second, we're trying to understand the manager better in this process. Managers have a tremendous influence on this overall process in terms of establishing risk measurement, in terms of establishing risk estimates, and even in terms of investment decisions. What we're trying to understand is how cultural values may systematically bias their decision making in this area of global supply chain risk management. The problem here is still acute. Over 85% of UK organisations suffered from some form of disruption to supply in 2011, many without the proper risk management processes in place. In future, organisations will be able to use the results of our work to build greater resilience and robustness into their global operations.
Preview.